begin, hoop a piece of flesh-colored felt along with a piece of tearaway stabilizer. After sewing the first two colors, place a piece of white felt over the outline for the beard. Continue on to the next color. After the tack down for the beard is sewn, cut away the excess white felt from around the outside of the stitching. Cut really close to the stitches. Before you sew the last color, place another piece of flesh-colored felt over the top of the design, or you could use white felt, either one. Then sew the last color of the design. After the design is sewn, remove it from the hoop and tear away the stabilizer from the back. After the stabilizer is torn away, cut out the design, about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching. Then turn the piece right side out and stuff it with polyester fiber fill. Now sew the opening closed with a needle and thread. The next design is for Santa's nose, and you'll sew it on a piece of white felt. Sew all but the last color of the design, and before you sew the last color, place another piece of white felt on top and then continue to sew the last color. After the design is sewn, remove it from the hoop and tear away the stabilizer. After that, you'll want to cut the design out about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching. Turn the design right side out after you have it cut out. Stuff it with polyester fiber fill and then sew the opening closed. To attach Santa's nose to his face, you can either sew it on like I'm going to do, or else you can use a hot glue gun and glue it on. Next is Santa's hat, and we will begin by hooping a piece of red felt along with a piece of tearaway stabilizer. You'll sew the first color of the design. Before you sew the next color, you'll want to place white felt over the top of the outlines. After the tack down is sewn, cut away the excess white felt from around the outside of the stitching. Before you sew the last color, place another piece of red felt over the top of the design and then sew the last color. After the design is sewn, remove it from the hoop and tear away the stabilizer. Then cut the design out, leaving about 1/8 of an inch around the outside of the stitching. Turn the design right side out. Next, you'll attach Santa's cap with a hot glue gun, and we'll put a small amount of polyester fiber fill in the hat before we glue it onto the head. Now you'll make Santa's arms, and the first color in this design will be an outline for the placement of white felt for the cuff on the sleeve. Before sewing the next color, place a piece of white felt over the top of the outline you just sewed. After that color is sewn, cut away the excess felt from around the outside of the stitching. Before you sew the last color, place another piece of red fabric over the top of the design. After the design is finished sewing, remove it from the hoop, tear away the backing, and cut the design out. Turn the piece right side out. Stuff the piece with polyester fiber fill. Then sew the opening closed. Do the same for the other arm. Cut a piece of fabric 9½ inches high by 13 inches wide. This will be the actual jar cover. Fold the bottom edge of the fabric up by 1/4 of an inch and pin it. Pin all along the bottom. Sew along the bottom edge. You can either do this by hand or on the sewing machine. After you've sewn along the bottom edge, then fold the fabric in half lengthwise and pin the edges together. Next, sew along the edge using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Sew along the top edge, staying about 1/4 inch away from the top. This time you don't have to turn the fabric over. We're going to be using this seam to gather the top of the fabric. After you've sewn all the way along the top edge, then pull the thread tight to gather the fabric together, and then knot your thread and cut it. Turn the piece right side out and place it over the top of a wide mouth quart jar. Next, glue Santa's head to the top of the jar using a hot glue gun. Sew the belt buckle design onto a piece of black felt and cut the felt 1 inch by 12.5 inches. Make sure the belt buckle is in the center, and then we'll glue the belt buckle and the belt onto the body. Glue the ends of the belt at the back. The last thing to do is glue the arms onto the body at the sides.